what you do? Well, you do nothing. You know, the one thing you certainly don't do is look through it. I'll tell you what you do. You buy.
I think it's pretty well baked in. And what's interesting to me is in tech right now, you're getting layoffs are the new bull signal, which is kind of unique. But when I look at what Jay Powell, so here's the problem that investors have, and it says I'm as confused as everybody else. But here's what the man said: we don't want to replay the early '70s, which means taking the foot off the throat of inflation or the market too early creates longer term and more entrenched inflation down the road. He's also said that they're not going to do anything this year in terms of cutting rates. So at this point, they're having a tough time with credibility, and the market is telling them what they're going to do. He may push back a little bit on that. And, again, the market is a little bit overbought. Could that put pressure on it? It could. Ultimately, nobody knows how high the market can go on this momentum run. What I do know is, again, it would be historically unique to not go into some degree of recession. The UPS CEO today said the base case is a mild recession. That's the guy shipping the goods. So if you go into a recession, you've never bottomed the S&P before you even entered it. It doesn't mean you have to go down 15 or 20%, Mike, as we've talked about before on the show. You're not new in the bear market. It's a year and a half old for the average stock. So to me, this expectation of a recession isn't, oh my God, run for the hills, we're going to zero. I want to attack the next move to the low, because to me, that's when the bad news will become the bad news. The margin compression will be evident in earnings, and you'll be able to have a Fed that will allow us to look through the coming slowdown into the recovery peak. So it's a really confused market, just like you and me and everybody else is. At what point do you transition from bad news is good news to bad news is bad news? And ultimately, it would be historically unique for the yield curves to act the way they are, the leading economic indicators to be where they are, the ISM, the real liquidity, money supply in Europe and the U.S. is still kind of in free fall. So it's one of those times where I'm going to stick with the fundamental data, because even with the market data, is so compelling.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have Kramer saying that we're in a bull market for stocks. And you guys know back in December, I told you January was going to be a good month. But February and March, while the central banks are raising rates and running off the balance sheet, we will have a pullback. And guys, we know the first quarter of every year we have a pullback. But we know after the pullback, we have good old Janet Yellen. The chess piece is tapping those retirement funds and putting liquidity into the market. So what do I teach you? Follow the money. So we're going to follow the Fed. And we're going to follow Janet Yellen, because we can clearly see a distraction is coming our way. The next crisis is brewing. We have on Russian TV, a TV host calls Elon Musk a war criminal, talking about Starlinks. And guys, we know it's definitely Skynet. We know Biden stated he wouldn't send in any type of tanks or jets, but that has changed, and he clearly stated out his own mouth if he did, the drums would beat. And we see things are heating up in the Middle East. But remember, guys, all this commotion is going on. Don't get distracted. Remember, it's all about the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse, get that free money airdrop to them, and they have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. So in the media, they're going to play the Hegelian dialectic when it comes to crypto. But we know it is definitely the future. The utility tokens are going to rise right along with the fourth industrial revolution stocks. And we see that Bitcoin Lightning is moving its way in the emerging markets right along with the rest of the utility protocols and tokens. And we know Strike is using it for fiat stablecoins. Remember, stablecoin CBDCs are going to be programmable, giving the central banks even more power. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
See you. How are you?
Tyler, Kelly, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Fantastic, man.
Great
How you
to be
doing?
with you.
We always have some good banter on this show. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I want to understand something about this payment or remittance system. If I am, let's say, a nurse in Denver and I want to send money back to my sibling in Manila, and I use your platform, Strike, do I even know that my money is being transformed into Bitcoin for purposes of the transaction, or do I not? Is it so seamless to me that I don't even know?
It's an unbelievable question, Tyler. You don't know. You don't know. In fact, we're very confident that Bitcoin in a payment setting, no one wants to spend Bitcoin. If you spend it in the United States, you're spending property. You got to tell the IRS about it. There's a lot of volatility incurred. We use Bitcoin similar to how consumers use Visa. When you go buy your latte at Starbucks, did you know exactly that it was routed through certain Visa rails connecting to banks? No, you have dollars on your card and you spent them. And so, no, if you're, I don't know what you just said, if you're in Denver and you want to send money across the border, you got dollars, you enter the bank account, you click send. And we just use technology that gets it there much cheaper and much faster. It happens to use Bitcoin, but that's not, we don't think that that's an important detail for people to know.
So you mentioned the next sort of phrase that pays here, and that is cheaper. Transferring money across border can be a friction-filled process, to put it mildly, and one where there's a lot of margin. So the question for you is, how do you guys make money on these transactions as you take friction out of the system and as you take margin out of the system? What's your mechanism for profit?
Yeah, so we actually replicate a lot of the same business models, Tyler. Whenever a consumer makes a payment to the Philippines from the United States, we make money. My margins, guys, are so much higher. Think about like what Swift does, what Visa does. I downloaded it from the internet for free. It's free open source software. The ability to physically settle value across the world, which traditionally implies counterparty risk, capital, float, intermediaries. There's up to 7 intermediaries in Swift. I get all that stuff. It's the equivalent of how, the Netflix Blockbuster story is. Netflix's only fixed cost, hilariously, was electricity. All they had to do was run their servers. They didn't need physical brick and mortar distribution, any float, any employee count. I got my fixed cost to run the free open source software that does a lot of the hard work for me. So the real disruption in here is the Lightning Network and is the Bitcoin technology under the hood. We think it's important to obfuscate that away from a mainstream consumer that's just trying to get money home as fast and as cheap as possible. But my margins are so much higher, so I can actually be more profitable as a business by charging far cheaper. Does that make sense?
Well, and my understanding too, Jack, is there's sort of financial intermediaries who are making those conversions, maybe trying to bid to bring those spreads down. But we don't have a lot of time, so I want to ask you about this as well. Philippines, a couple countries in Africa. One of the big questions people have is why isn't Strike expanding globally more quickly? And after the collapse in crypto over the past year, are you running into headwinds regulatory here in the U.S. where you don't feel comfortable being able to offer this product widely yet?
Yeah, so we are. The first part is we're making a really aggressive push this year to get out as fast as we can. So for context, we launched in a lot of Western African countries in December, and now we're here in January, Philippines. We're going to keep going. So we're getting better. But also, yeah, of course, it's a friction-filled industry. It's a lot of volatility, a lot of chaos. And so we've had, let me put it this way, Kelly, if I could be in every country in the world tomorrow, I would. I'd click the button.
Right.
I can't. And so that's known. But we feel super, super, super confident, super opportunistic. I mean, of all the contagion and all the suffering, we're healthy as ever, and we feel good.
What are your prospects here in the U.S., do you think?
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, And then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.